So I've been asked many, many times to kind of walk through my armory and all the stuff that I have around because everyone sees these things in the background all the time, and they would like for me to just kind of give a comprehensive tour. So I figured I would do that real quick, and it's not going to be real quick, but it's going to be real quick. All right, so this is the dining room area where I pretty much film everything. Normally on this table is just the Accolade sword, which I've done a review of already. We actually have some random things like candles and Shakespeare bust because we had a medieval feast in honor of the 400th year anniversary of Shakespeare's death. So we had a big gathering, and so that's why there's all this stuff out. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about, obviously, about the weapons and armor and stuff that I tend to have out, but I'll also talk about some of the art that's in the background as we go. This sword is a windlass sword. I have yet to review it. I picked it up as just a real good deal out of one of their warehouse sales a long time ago for about $100. It's got this little ankh right here. So I picked it up because I really like the game Ultima Online and the Ultima series, and of course the Avatar, the main character of that game, has an ankh on pretty much everything. So I was like, that's my Avatar sword. Of course, everyone has probably seen this Accolade painting 100,000 times at this point. This is my reproduction. I really like this painting, so I got a nice reproduction of it. This sword over here is called the Windlass Schild. So Schild obviously means sword, and a long time ago this was a windlass product. I again got it on a good sale. You can see it's actually kind of scratched up and dinged up. This is one of the first arming swords I ever sharpened and actually used. So it hangs on this back wall as well. Over here is my giant shelf of random stuff, but I have a really large painting that is definitely larger than the original of The Meeting on the Turret Stairs, my personal favorite painting. So I had a giant poster version of it that was printed on a heavy paper stock, and then my mother, for a birthday gift, actually somehow transferred that to wood. And I can't imagine how she did it, but it worked really well. So now I have this really nice painting that sits behind the main chair on my dining room table. So, walking all the way over here, to confuse the camera person, my lovely wife, and you can see I got all my tripods and everything set up because this is really haphazard. On this wall I have my chainmail heraldry banner. So I actually made this. It's made of like some ungodly number of rings. It's a mail banner. Took me like 6 months to make. Walking this way, this is where I do all my unboxing videos. You've seen these three helmets. I've pretty much talked about these two. I did a review of this one. I unboxed this one, I never really talked about it. So this is my Dwarven helmet. This is my Masajowski Crusader helmet. And over here I have a Numenorian helmet, which my wife bought me as a Christmas present, the best Christmas present anyone ever could have gotten. And this was made by Tom Fiocchi, who is a very much a theatrical artist. He makes all sorts of things, swords and whatnot, but it's all for theater. But he made me this. So this is the only reproduction of this I've actually seen anywhere. So that's why I have that out. Moving on, over here is a closet near my front door. It's where I have my Hanwei Claymore hanging, and this is actually my HEMA closet. So I have pretty much all of my HEMA supplies in here. So you can see in the back, I've got my Reginier Fader. I also have some new Sterling Arms wooden wasters. And in here I have a bag full of protective equipment and whatnot. There are a couple swords in there, one of which is the Hanwei longsword that I've shown and done a review of before, as well as I have a Hanwei bastard sword in there. They call it a bastard sword. It's more of a really large broadsword, but it's blunt. It's meant to be used for stage combat and HEMA training. It's not great for HEMA training. At best, it's good for stage combat, but I have it in there in case someone wants to feel a little bit of a heavier sword when they're doing things. So that's my HEMA closet. Let's move on back to the actual armory room. So, of course, in my other room, I have a sword rack, which I built to house all my random things. So I've got a Spartan shield here that is a windlass product. It's pretty cheapo, actually. I have the windlass falchion, which I got recently and people have seen in videos. I have a bunch of other swords here that most of these swords I've actually done reviews on at this point. This is the Dark Sword Armory sword that they sent me, and I actually purchased it after doing the review because I liked it so much. Behind that, I have a Ronin Katana European number 4, I think is what they called it, but it's a European arming sword. It is alright. I've shown it in a video as well. Up here, I have a Cold Steel Halberd. This is actually the only, it's one of the couple of Cold Steel products, but really the only good Cold Steel bladed anything that I own right now. I have a couple of other kind of cheap Cold Steel things, such as the Cold Steel Buckler right here, which I picked up for a pretty good deal. I have my Viking swords, my Viking era swords. So I have the Einar, I have the Suantaka, and right back here, oh, hot on everything. This is the Windless Ulfbert. And I have not done a review on that one yet. And let's see, behind all of this, I'm not even going to bother trying to get it out of here, is the Bekta Korban, large Warhammer spiky thing. Down here as well, I have a War Mallet, which I picked up at a Scottish Highland Festival for a fairly good deal. It's not anything real authentic, but it is a giant War Mallet. Back behind here, I have a couple of Starfire swords. It's a 1 meter rigid broadsword and a 32-inch long sword. They call it a long sword, it's just a 32-inch single-handed sword. I have this random windlass blade that a lot of people have asked about. I have no idea what this is from. They told me, when I asked Windlass about it, they told me this was put together from a bunch of random parts and is not something they ever actually sold. And again, I picked this up on a deal out of one of their warehouse sales. Behind that, I have the Sword of Rovin longsword that they made as well. Down below, I also have some of the swords that I got from the Cult of Athena unboxing. I have yet to fix those up, so I have the Tonto in there as well as the Jian, and I haven't really bothered to do anything with those yet. I have two other shields over here. One is my Roman shield, and this is a decorative Gondorian shield that came with a banner that is somewhere in this room, not that banner. Back here is, of course, my Thor's hammer. And then I have this nice little display of all sorts of random things. And if you come right over here, you can actually see I have a gladiatorial helmet back there, as well as some Roman armor. And then I have a nice display of mostly SLOs. So all these are kind of the wall hangers. This is the only one that I would consider a real decent good sword. So this is obviously the Hanwei Lowlander. And then, as I said, all these are kind of SLOs. I could go through most of them. The highlights would be, these are two swords my brother and I got for one of my cousin's weddings. I have the sword I got, Cult of Athena stuff. There's a lot of other decoratives. Another very large meter broadsword from Starfire, as well as Strongblade Warspike. This is before they started making them properly tempered out of the proper metals, so this is more decorative. And a bunch of other things that are right. I also keep my katana next to my computer desk because I have nowhere else to put it. This is an SBG custom katana, so I really actually like it. It's probably the only katana I'll ever actually truly want. I obviously have some other ones now that I've gotten, but I don't really care as much for them. Moving over here, I have, of course, the giant Ritter Steel Landknecht. I have a bunch of other things, axes and whatnot, on this smaller sword rack. So this is a Viking bearded axe from Windlass. Behind it I have a Windlass Kukri, which I had a sheath for it, and the sheath ended up with termites. So let that be a lesson to you. Make sure your sheaths, whenever you get them, don't have termites in them. That actually came from a warehouse from a reseller, neither of which is normally the reseller I would go to. Had termites, I had to throw away the sheath. Also back behind there, I have my Falcata, I have the Raven Dagger, I also have a Windlass Warhammer here, I got the Windlass Sax, as well as an axe that my brother found the axe head for and reassembled. I have a Horseman's axe that was given to me as a Christmas present by my in-laws. It's a good present to get. Back here I also have the very last of the Starfire items. So I actually end up having 4 Starfire blades, 3 swords, and 1 dagger. And let's see, then down below I get to some of my Roman stuff. This is called the Roman Pugio, and actually a viewer, one of the people commented that this is not exactly a Pugio, and I actually agree. They call it a Pugio because they basically made it to this weird little leaf-shaped short dagger thing and said, that's close enough to be a Pugio. So I actually agree with the person who said that, but I'm calling it by the name that Windlass gave it. Of course, terrible sheath. And then down below I have two, and these are pretty much the only terrible tactical anything that I have, because I got them for really cheap. These are the Tactical Gladius. One of them, I couldn't even tell you which one is which, but one of them is Cold Steel, and one of them is United Cutlery. They're both thin, machete-like blades, very sharp, made with all the synthetic material. I've never actually done anything with these, but I figured I'd pick them up just for the heck of it. Moving on to the other sword rack. It's going to get really extensive, this video, I swear. Well behind everything, I have my Sword of Godric Gryffindor, which I got for $10, so that's why I have it. I have an Executioner's, it's really a punishment axe from Windlass. I have my Chris that I got out of the big deal box that I got from Cult of Athena. I also have a Masonic sword, one of their ceremonial swords. I picked it up for pretty cheap. I didn't really care about what it looked like. I just wanted to have one of the more common swords that's out there. I figure I should have it in my collection. Back behind all this, I have the Condor Dedao, which I've done an unboxing video on. I've got my Roman Gladius from Windlass. I have a Hanwei sword cane with the dog head. I've done a video on that. I have my Masajowski falchion hacky thing. It's not actually called falchion, but it's close enough. I have my rapiers. So this is the Christus Imperat, as well as down here is the Brandenburg rapier. I also have the fantasy sword that I got as part of the Cult of Athena thing, and it's the Raptor sword, I believe is what they call it. And then I have a pirate cutlass right here. Then across the way on this door, I have my assortment of daggers, my Knightly dagger from Windlass, my Maingosh from Windlass, and a Venetian stiletto from Windlass. So all these are Windlass daggers, and a spot for one more if I ever find one. And then moving over finally to this wall, I have my display for the small sword with the original Unearthed blade and the Deltin reproduction of a French small sword. And up above, right now it's kind of a random assortment of things. I have the Polish saber from Windlass, it's kind of a cheapo Polish saber. I have the katana that is from Kill Bill. It's the Bride's sword, and I'll never actually remember that properly. I'll always stumble over that one. And then I have a Ninjato, which is, of course, kind of a fake fantasy-ish sword, but it is made more or less properly, so in theory you can actually use it. And finally, up there, I have the much cheaper Tai Chi sword. It's basically a Jan again. This is the one with the really floppy blade that I actually really enjoy, but it's also super cheap. And then I have one final thing to go show you, but it's not in any of these rooms. It's in yet another one, so go over there. And finally, hidden away are my Albion swords. There's a reason you don't see them in the background of pretty much any video. That's because they hang in my bedroom as part of the overall decoration of this space. And I like to keep them grouped together. So they're always kind of hidden away, but I do have them. The Albion Gallowglass, the Ringek, and the Lichtenauer. So that's it. That is the entirety of my collection of real items. I have plenty of things away in storage and whatnot that are either a more costume grade or not actually a functional real weapon. But what I'm going to do in order to kind of show you everything that I have is I'm going to link to an Imgur gallery that I created of many of my kind of other odds and ends, as well as some of what you've already seen. I'll link to it in the video description below, so you can just kind of have a look at everything. And feel free to ask questions about all these items in the video description. I'll do my best to answer them. As well as if there is an item that you saw on this kind of quick tour that you would like to have a review done of, feel free to request it. I will try to prioritize some of those because I've only got a couple swords that are coming to me soon that I would like to review. So I'm definitely open for suggestions. Feel free again, comment below and let me know. Have a wonderful day.